Well, thanks everyone. It's Daniel Sloman here, Director of Explore Careers. And I'd like to send out a special welcome and invitation to Darren O'Brien, who is the President of Mondelz International, who's joining us as part of our executive series. Welcome to the program, Darren.
Thank you, Daniel. Hello, everyone. It's great to be here.
Now, look, Mondelz is a big company. It's obviously a global business employing lots of people, but probably students, career advisors, teachers and parents are probably scratching their head thinking, Mondelz, who are they? You got some, iconic, very famous, well-known brands that they'd be aware of, day to day, but they probably don't associate the two. So I was hoping you could give a bit of a snapshot about who Mondelz International are.
Yeah, it'd be a pleasure, Daniel. It's one of the challenges we face with a lot of people, in that Mondelz really only came about as our corporate name in 2012. We used to be Kraft Foods, we bought Cadbury, the two businesses came together to form Mondelz. So it's our corporate name, but the brands behind Mondelz, I think everyone's familiar with. We have Cadbury Dairy Milk, Oreo cookies, Philadelphia cream cheese. We have the Natural Confectionery Company. So all the products, we want to be the world's greatest snacking company, and we certainly have a fantastic basket of products that people get to enjoy a lot.
Oh, wow. And I think, those names, I think unless people are sleeping under a rock, I think most people will be well aware of those brands and consume those brands probably on a daily basis. So that certainly gives people probably a connection to obviously the Mondelz brand. Now, obviously you're president of Mondelz, and again, they might have people out there and students and obviously teachers thinking, president of Mondelz, well, what does he do within the business?
Yeah, so I'm the president of Mondelz for Australia, New Zealand and Japan. We operate our business globally. We're in probably 50 odd countries around the world. Our headquarters is in the United States. We're listed on the NASDAQ in New York. And we operate with what we call 15 business units. We have a CEO and a chairman, and then 15 business units make up about our $30 billion worth of revenue globally. So I have responsibility for the business units that incorporates the Australia, New Zealand, Japan geographies. And within that, I basically have responsibility for everything we do in those countries. I have a fantastic team of people who work for me. We have around about 2,500 employees across those three countries, working in everything from the head office, where we do our marketing, sales, our customer relations, right through to our sales reps who go and call on supermarkets and cafes and restaurants, and of course all of our people who work in our factories. We have 5 factories across Australia and New Zealand and 1 in Japan. And obviously, it's not just, people like in Willy Wonka making all the chocolate, but we have everything from, engineers and electricians, plumbers, all the way through to our frontline workers on the factory.
Wow. And so obviously right now, at the top of the tree in terms of your career, which is fantastic. Now, just taking it back a few years, do you remember when you were at school what you wanted to be?
Well, I changed a few times over school. When I was much younger, I wanted to be the Prime Minister. My father still reminds me of that. Look, both my parents were in business. My father ran pharmaceutical companies. My mother was in advertising. And so I knew I was aspiring to have a job in the corporate world. I wasn't particularly set on any particular companies, but I thought if I went and did a business degree, that would give me a lot of choice. And that's what I did. I completed school. I went to the University of Technology in Sydney and studied a Bachelor of Business degree. It was a rough start. I went from having a very disciplined, structured school environment into university, which was a different world. A lot of freedom, the choice of whether you attended classes and tutorials. The university bar was a big distraction. My first year didn't go so well. And with the advice of my father, I actually went part-time after that. So I went to university 2 days a week and some nights, and I got a part-time job, actually as an assistant management accountant with the Smith Snack Food Company. And from there, started to build a career. But I certainly found it a lot easier when I had both the structure and the discipline of still going to a working environment. But suddenly a lot of the concepts at university became clearer to me as well, because I was seeing them in practice in the business environment. And I really found that was helpful. It wasn't just theory, but things that you could actually relate to.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously from school, you've obviously then gone through to university. So what was your, I guess, career journey? You left obviously school, gone through to university, and then from that point, being the president where you are today, what does that, journey look like? Did you think you were always going to work in this particular industry, and were you always looking, I guess, to get involved in, senior management?
Yeah, look, I always had aspirations, and my father had been a CEO, and so that's sort of where I saw one of the ultimate destinations. But I hadn't really mapped out what all of that looked like, and it really began a journey. And so, as I said, I had 5 fantastic years at the Smith Snack Food Company, which is part of Coca-Cola Amatil. And they were tremendous in terms of training me. I did assistant management accounts, I did an assistant brand manager role, I did a sales and marketing analyst role with them, and a junior product manager role. So I got a lot of experience. There were a lot of people within that organization who were very happy to be a mentor and to help guide what was a young, inexperienced person in the early stages of their career. And then my career started to go down a sales track, and I went and joined a company called Uncle Ben's, which did pedigree Powell and Whiskers, so pet food, as a sales rep. So I went out driving a station wagon, calling on supermarkets, dealing with store managers about building displays and getting products ranged and so on. And from there, I got into a sales career, managing accounts like Woolworths and Coles, and I moved down to Albury-Wodonga. I was always quite mobile in my career. So I lived down there for 4 years and did a combination of sales and marketing roles. And then from then I moved down to Melbourne and spent time in Diageo, a company that does Johnny Walker and Smirnoff vodka and so on, and did another sort of management role, and then got into a strategy role, commuting up to Sydney actually. People will probably in their careers end up commuting. It's an experience, but it's challenging. So I did that for about a year. Then I moved back to Melbourne and joined a big dairy company called Fonterra. And I headed up their sales group, and then ultimately became a general manager of their specialty division, and ran some companies for them that we acquired both in Melbourne and also over in Western Australia. And then ultimately from there, followed one of my bosses actually, who had been a tremendous mentor and coach to me, and he joined Kraft Foods, and he asked me to come and work for him over there, which I was delighted to go and do. Headed up sales, and then moved into a role in Singapore with Mondelz, looking after Asia Pacific as we did the integration with Cadbury. And then from there back to Australia, and was responsible for Asia Pacific for our cheese and grocery business. And then got invited to go to Europe. I spent the last 4 years in Europe, looking after about a $1.5 billion business, US dollar business over there, for their cheese and grocery business all over across Europe. And then have just come back to Australia in July after 4 years in Europe, to head up, as I said, Australia, New Zealand, Japan. So always in food and beverage, as you said. Always with top tier companies, which it's been fortunate. I've wanted to work there. They've wanted me to work for them. They've always been great in terms of training, development and opportunities. And as I said, I've had the opportunity to work across both Asia and also Europe, now Australia with Japan in there as well. So it's not something I would have ever mapped out. If you'd said to me, 30 years ago, draw on a piece of paper where you'll work and who you'll work for, it probably would have been totally wrong. But I think having an openness to new experiences, if people are inclined, I encourage people to be mobile, because a lot of the companies are international companies. Australians, New Zealanders are often willing to travel. That's not necessarily common all around the world, and it does give you both new experiences, cultural experiences, and makes you a more valuable sort of asset to companies, the broader your experience understandings are.
Absolutely, and I was just about to touch on that actually, in terms of obviously, that worldly experience of those opportunities you've had overseas, how that's been able to, I guess, propelled you in your career because of that international experience that you've been able to have. Well, one of the other, key things, and you touched on it a few times, is having a mentor and finding a mentor. How important do you think that is? I know a lot of people are out there and they go, no, I'm fine and I can do it myself, and that's great. But how important do you think it is for young people that they can find a mentor in their role to help them in their career?
Look, I think it's critical. I mean, you can't click your fingers and have all this wealth of experience, particularly when you're young. but there are a lot of people who have different experiences, whether it be from cultures, geography, business experiences, and so on. And people, like myself, are very willing to share it because we want to see people develop and grow. Daniel, as I mentioned to you, I have 3 children. I have 2 daughters, 17 and 15, a son who's 12. And so, I'm their father as opposed to their mentor, but I get quite a thrill out of, sharing some of my experience, helping to guide people. I love it when people want to ask me questions. It also helps me reflect and draw on experiences I've had in the past and even think about things differently as you talk through people how you've done things or why you might have done them or why you thought a particular way. So I think finding someone who's willing to provide and share their experiences and also be open to have an open mind about things that you don't necessarily, the first way you think about things or how you may see a solution isn't necessarily the best way. It may be part of the way, it may be a long way towards it, but blending other people's experience and knowledge is an invaluable way to continue to learn and develop.
Absolutely, I think that's absolutely key. Absolutely key. And if your students out there, make sure you put that in the memory bank. But I think that's really, really important to get that knowledge and experience, and will certainly help you in your way. Now,
and Daniel, don't ignore your parents as well. That would be my other message. Some of my greatest mentor and coaches, as I said, were my parents. They were both in business, and also some of my friends' parents. Had tremendous experiences. One of my best friends has run an extensive sort of hotel industry that he built. He was previously Lord Mayor of Sydney. Some of the things that I learned from him were incredible. So it's not always in a business sense. Friends and family can also be an invaluable source, even though you may not think it today. I can assure you they can be a valuable source, particularly when things are tough or go wrong. I always found my parents were a great place to go back to.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that's very, very good words of wisdom there, absolutely. And I think, I guess from Mondelez perspective and from yourself, Darren, what is it that you would like to tell students, career advisors, parents about obviously a future career with Mondelez in terms of, I guess, the industry, the types of, I guess, opportunities. I guess the leading question to that as well would be, you might have a lot of students now going, oh, this sounds like a fantastic industry to get involved in. And I guess just the first question would be about, what is it that you'd like to obviously tell students about a future career in your business, and then secondly, the different types of opportunities that they can, maybe from an entry level point into the business, maybe through the graduate program or through sales roles. That would be great.
Yeah, look, the first thing I'd say, companies like Mondelez, multinational companies, and also big Australian companies as well. One of the beauties of them is there an enormous number of careers within the organisation. It's whether it's sales, marketing, finance, consumer science, research and development, through to, as I say, engineers, people who build factories, design products. So there's an enormous number of different career paths within an organisation. And also companies like ours like to put people through different pathways to round out their experiences. I like to see people develop more broadly as opposed to deeply. And that's an opportunity that can be presented with companies like Mondelez, both in terms of within Australia, and as I said, for people who are interested in an international career, we can provide those pathways and experiences as well. As hungry as people are to want to learn and grow and travel, a business like Mondelez can provide it. And as I say, there's Australian businesses and other multinational businesses, whether it be Unilever or Nestle or Arnott's, who can provide that as well. But one of the things that I would say that's important is have a look as well, when you're looking at companies and deciding who you'd like to work for, have a look at the values of the company. With Mondelez, we have 3 core pillars around, grow every day and loving our consumers and our brands and doing what's right. I think that doing what's right part is something we take very seriously, whether it's in terms of developing people, whether it's our sustainability agenda, how we actually impact on the environment, how even like for the moment during a period like COVID, how we prioritize keeping our employees safe as our number one priority in everything that we're doing. And in terms of, whether it's allergen labeling or things like that, our first anchor point is, are we doing what's right? And I think having a look at the values of the company, I think if you want to have a successful career, you want to be proud of the company you're working for, it's important that your values as a human being are aligned to the company you work for. Otherwise, you get that tension sort of every day. So that would be the best advice I would give to people. I mean, the beauty about being young is you can be selective, and you should be selective about who you want to work for and why you want to work for them. That's often the beginning, and that can be, you can have a journey with a company for 10, 15, 20 years. I had a colleague who retired not so long ago. In fact, my predecessor had been with Cadbury for 30 years. As I said to you, with me, I've had more, sort of 5 and 8 year stints with multiple companies and enjoyed all of them. And so, but I think I was clear in terms of joining each one. I had done my research to say, why would I want to work for that company? And you do have to be able to answer that question.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, especially in this time as well, with Corona or COVID-19, a lot of, organisations in industries have been put under the pressure in terms of being affected. So I guess, when students are now at school and they're trying to work out, what type of organisation and importantly, what type of industry I want to get in. From your perspective, Darren, where do you see, your industry and importantly Mondelz, over the short to medium term? And I guess why should it be, a career option and a business that students should be considering as a robust and a safe industry to get involved in?
Yeah, well, certainly food and grocery, and has proven over many, many decades, is a very reliable and consistent industry. People always need to eat and drink. And we've seen even through COVID, for example, when people have been homeschooling or working from home or unable to go out to restaurants and cafes, our products have done very well, because when people are at home more, there's more snacking, there's more Oreo cookies, Cadbury chocolate, TNCC snakes and Philadelphia on toast being consumed. And that's been very similar for the industry, and students have probably seen with supermarkets as well. They've continued to trade very strongly. They're one of the industries that obviously have been kept open regardless. And this has been globally. Even when I was in Europe during the height of some of the lockdowns, obviously supermarkets, pharmacies were still allowed to trade. So there's always going to be a demand there. And it's important that companies who have innovation and can bring more products that consumers want in the portions they want, with sort of their credentials on packaging and less waste that consumers want. So you've got to deliver what they want. But it's a very reliable and secure industry. It doesn't go through booms and busts. And if you have a look at some of the tech industries and things like that, they are very exciting, and they do bring a lot of disruptive energy in that to the market. But they do also go through cycles, and there are ups and downs. That's not necessarily the food and beverage industries, but as I say, reliable. It's a part of everyone's lives. They're in everyone's homes. And there's a lot of potential. It covers all the aspects, as I say, from the paddock, from where we source our raw materials, right through to the end product. So many careers to choose from. So it's a broad industry as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think from our perspective, Mondelz International has joined our business over the last 12 months to get out to the schools around Australia to obviously engage with obviously students, career advisors, teachers, and now parents. Why is it so important that Mondelz International is now getting out to schools and wanting to educate, the younger audience or the next group of talent about the industry and most importantly, a future career at Mondelz International?
Yeah, very importantly, particularly for students who are probably on the cusp after their exams of going to university or into technical trades and so on, we want them to choose us. We want to bring through the next generation of associates into our business across many careers, because that is something that we need to keep doing. We need to keep regenerating. We recently opened a new facility in Croydon. We're having a look at new products and so on all the time. We need smart people, energetic people who want to make a difference to join our business. And part of doing that is making people aware of who Mondelz International is. As we said at the beginning, the brands are well known, but not necessarily the company behind it. And I think, as I said, I want people to make informed choices about the businesses they choose to work for, and can answer that question, why I want to work for them. And part of that is for people like me and other people in our business, communicating. What are the values of our business? What do we have at our heart? What are we looking to do? And we're more than just products on the shelf. As I say, whether it be in sustainability or in portion control or things that we're looking to do, even in terms of community initiatives with the bushfires in January, we put $650,000 into the zoos, through our Freddo Frog initiative to look after animals and so on that have been wounded during the bushfires. So we do look to make a difference beyond just selling products that people enjoy. And I'm very happy to have the opportunity to get that message out there so that when people look to make informed choices about the sort of company they'd like to work for, the Mondelz International is at the top of that list.
Absolutely. And obviously right at the moment, and you've obviously got a couple of kids who may be in this stage right now, about to head into exams. Obviously it's been quite a busy year for students, obviously working or studying from home and going back and forth. What advice and I guess what message can you give students around Australia who will be listening to this during this period, and any well wishes on your behalf, Darren and Mondelz, for their exam and after school?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been an incredible year, and I'm sure one that's been very different to the way all the students thought it would turn out. But my advice would be very simple, and that would be, stay calm, stay focused, and believe in yourself. You've done the hard work. You do have the knowledge, you do have the capability. Now you have to do your best. But don't be distracted by what's going on around you. Believe in yourself, believe in what's in that heart, and do your best, and things will work out from there. And if you can handle the year that's been in 2020, you can handle what lays ahead of you. I can assure you of that. But do your best, and best of luck. And I hope you get the results you deserve.
Fantastic. Well, look, thank you so much for joining us today, Darren. We really appreciate your time and the insight into Mondelz International. If any students out there are obviously interested in a career at Mondelz or future careers and want to find out more, of course, they can go to explorecareers.com.au, and all the information about careers and future careers and what that looks like can be found on Explore Careers, but also go through to the Mondelz website. We'll have all that information below obviously this video and podcast, so you can jump on the links and everything will be there. But we really appreciate your time, Darren, and we wish you and the business all the very best for the remainder of the year.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you very much, Daniel. Goodbye, everyone.
Thank you.